What up? What up? Hey man, say man, we are live. Hey man.
Hey
Amen.
man, say man.
Hey, hey, we are live. This is a good one. This is a good one. Definitely been waiting on this one. Just a little background on the part for today. If you don't know, June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and Court Chronicles from the North Podcast is stepping into the conversation with intention and purpose. So what we want to do is let everybody know that it's okay to be vulnerable. We definitely want to open up, answer some questions, and before we get into it, I'm gonna let my boy Ride Out introduce our guest for today.
All right, fellas, we have young MyKayla Bowser. She lives here in the Fayetteville area, man. She's been in her profession for a little bit, and she was more than willing to help us out. You know, understand the last time we did our mental health episode, and we just trying to do something different this time, give people different experiences. She did not hesitate to help us out, so we want to show everybody from North Little Rock, Mrs. MyKayla Bowser. I need you to see my brothers KC, Shaft, and Showtime, and the whole city.
What up? What up? What up? What up?
What up? And thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining.
Yeah,
Excited to have you.
yeah. You can go ahead and give them a little bit about yourself, Kayla, if you want, before we get started.
Yeah. So my name is MyKayla Bowser. I have a master's of science in clinical mental health counseling. I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Arkansas, a national certified counselor in the United States, and I'm also in the process of becoming a registered play therapist. And so the clientele that I work with are ages 4 and up. So children age 4 to 10, adolescents age 11 to 17, and then adults 18 to whoever else wants to come see me.
Okay.
The demographic I usually work with are Black people, but specifically within depression, anxiety, grief, post-traumatic stress, chronic illness, and suicidal ideation. So those are the areas that I really focus on in my clinical work, and I'm really excited to be here.
I can tell. Happy to have you as well. We can go and jump into it if you don't mind. Give people an idea what a session will be like.
Yeah, so today we're going to be doing a very brief sort of mock session of what group therapy would look like. It's a little bit different than individual therapy, so this is an opportunity to sort of jump off other people's experiences and ideas. So the way that I formulated it today, I'm going to give you all questions, and it's centered around being a Black man and mental health and masculinity, and really sort of exploring what your life experiences have been, how that's impacted your emotional well-being.
Okay.
So I guess just starting off, I'm curious, what do you all think mental health is?
Well, I'll go ahead and jump in first, man. Mental health. First of all, I think it's an issue that everybody deals with. You know, I think it's different levels, of course, but at the same time, I'm just more appreciative of the fact that people are getting encouraged and the confidence to start more to just kind of talk about it more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think of mental health, it's a way to bond, it's a way to connect. You never know what somebody else is going through. So, you know, little things, you know, as far as mental health, I'm just trying to figure out, you know, what it is and how we can always get to a certain conversation to where we can get comfortable and not worry about what people think of us and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, for me, mental health refers to your well-being. You know, how you are in your well-being, how you are mentally, you know, and somewhat physically. But you know, I mean, most when I think of mental health, I think of the words well-being, because that's how you feel, how you are emotionally, and how you deal with things, and how you approach things.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll say mental health is basically mental health.
mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no other way to, explain what mental health is. It's making sure that your mental is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that us as Black men have had the stigma that, you know, if you talk about mental health or you deal with mental health, it's a sign of weakness. But we definitely want to break that stigma today.
Yeah, mental health can go in a lot of different directions. But I think one thing that's important to me to define mental health is the consciousness of the environment that stimulates your mental, right? That would then cause that to be deemed to be healthy or unhealthy. So I'm always, aware then of my environments just because of that, and wanting to get them in, a more relaxed and supportive state for my mental. So I think it's a consciousness and an awareness, if you will, of the things that can help you to operate soundly, right? So consciousness and an awareness of the environment, the food, everything that affects the output, So that's really my take. It has a lot of different areas, but I think the consciousness of what affects the mental, is the way I really kind of define the mental health, if you will.
So I'm hearing a lot of you say that mental health is one of the really big facets about being a whole person, of being able to take care of yourself, not only physically, spiritually, but also mentally, and making sure that's okay.
Absolutely.
Mental health is everything, man. It's everything.
One point that was just brought up that I think is really great to pivot to is this idea of that your mental health is a reflection of your environment. And so I'm curious about what have been some examples of vulnerability in each of your lives.
Well, yeah. I think that when we talk environment, work is one of those places that you're at 80% of the time of your life, just about, right? You're 9 to 5, you're 9 to 5 in it Monday through Friday, or however your schedule may be. And I feel like you have a smaller amount than at home. So environment, I think, especially when it comes to the workplace, has had a huge impact on us not understanding that it affects our mental health. Because I feel like whether you have a boss that's yelling on you, yelling at you, whether it's the pressure of the actual job, whether it's a coworker, whether it's a client, like there's so much that can involve a lack of an understanding that the pressures of an environment, because like in my case, right, I have to have a certain number of drinks out in a certain amount of time, and there's lots of people rushing up to the bar, and there's tickets coming from what they call the well, which are the restaurants drinks. And so I'm in charge of doing all of those things coming at one time. That can either be something that is a stress on my mental to not perform, and even in sports, same thing in sports, right? You show up to work and how you underperform or not can affect you, off the court. How I, underperform or not can affect me when I leave that job, and the same with other jobs. And so I think that understand for me, the preparation to go to work and the decompressing when I get off of work is important for me to recognize, to not let me bring those things into my home or into any of my other relationships. So, in the awareness of your environment and its impact, due to some of the stresses and such, I think that's what, for me, that's what I mean when I talk about environmental factors, or possibilities of things that could affect the mental health that you're not aware of, which is work.
Right. And I'm glad you said as far as the environment part, man, because what I deal with is, I'm a referee. I'm pretty sure y'all know that. I kind of keep y'all informed of what I'm doing on the weekend. So sometimes I had to remind myself, like, I have a job that people think it's okay to just come and just say anything to you, not even knowing who you are. They're not mindful of how they say it. They may turn around and try to apologize to you after the fact, but it's it's a natural instinct for people to come to the gym and feel like it's a part of the game, to yell at the ref, regardless whether you can be right or wrong. They can just, it's all about how you say things. So in preparation for me is that I have to make sure that I understand why that I'm there, because I play basketball and I still love being around the game. And it's one of my ways to where I can see those kids out there looking for some kind of direction and just coming with their territory. They're always looking for the answers. You can see the kids, you blow the whistle, they're going to look right in your face, waiting for you to say something. So I take those opportunities to, in my own kind of way, to get back. But he's right about the environment part, dealing with that. And it's always a challenge to come home. And I've gotten to the point to where I come home and I tell stories about it, put a little humor by it, because they don't know what I'm thinking and stuff like this. To kind of like, ooh, if they just knew what I was thinking. But it's one of those things, man. He hit it on the head. Just you being at your job, just trying to make a means for yourself, and people can bring everything to you, not knowing what you're dealing with as well. So, yeah,
it's real, Mark. I think to kind of piggyback off your question about finding yourself in vulnerable situations. I mean, you can for me jump into new leadership roles. Where you're having to manage a group of people or a new group of people. That was an example of a situation where I found myself kind of vulnerable, just wanting to be able to show up for them and be available for them and show that you're a great leader and that you have the key and the skill set to do the job. So I think that's a situation where I may have found myself vulnerable, or maybe when I lost a loved one, like when I lost my father a couple of years ago, I kind of found myself vulnerable then, trying to express and share that experience and share how that made me feel. So those are a few examples of finding yourself in vulnerable situations that I can think of right offhand.
Just speaking of vulnerable situations, I'm still kind of in the process of dealing with one. I lost a very close family member a few weeks ago. So I didn't know it was feelings inside of me I didn't even know I had. But just try to be strong for yourself, trying to be strong for family members, my mom and my siblings. I kind of found myself dealing and struggling with that. So definitely the vulnerability of losing someone close to you, you'll definitely find out how strong you are.
Yeah.
Sir.
And as you're all talking, I'm hearing this overall theme of, as Black men, you have to wear armor to sort of protect yourself in some way.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's another part of what you would call a mental health. What something involving mental health is having that armor to know how to react in situations that you may see a little more than some other people, whether it's regarding, let's just say, for instance, getting pulled over isn't the same for everybody. You know what I mean? So it's like every time you get into a vehicle, you getting to your place, getting to the next destination without interference, that's a thought. It doesn't have to be. And I've learned to just have more positive vibes, have better things going on in my head than to dwell on, because I know how what we think brings forth what we see. So I try to, find myself being careful with what I even look at, so that, those things don't come to me. And, so when seeing, the things that are happening to some of the young Black men that are getting pulled over, you can't help but to understand in each situation, whether you've done something or not, you getting, the lights hitting you, you have to pull over, And so we've seen a lot of videos, or a lot of cases where people saying, I didn't do nothing. What did I do? What did I do? What did I do? You can be mistaken. Just so to simply say, having that armor on, or like I just call it as being mindful of things like that are important, but more so of what you do in those situations. So I'm a big preparation guy in that sense, and so and that helps to soothe and calm the spirit, and just not feel like anything like that's gonna come your way, but it's still a reality, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that armor, that just kind of makes me think of just trying to be smart about everything, because with all that I said, you still have to understand why you're there and what the purpose is. You know, it's going to be some kind of friction. You know, we all have our jobs, things like that. So putting on that armor, just trying to understand what you're going into. And sometimes, you know, people just don't have that. They don't have their way to talk to people. They don't have, you know, like I was talking to Keisha, having that common sense. You know what I'm saying? Like understanding, like, you know, I might be having a bad day. That doesn't mean I have to take it out on you. Mm-hmm. So that armor just kind of just being aware, like, okay, like I know who I'm dealing with at the same time. If I don't allow it to get the best of me, and in my mind, that's a calculated win. Mm-hmm. You know, if I let that armor off and now I'm out of character and, you know, I'm belligerent, you know, once I calm down, I'm more upset with myself to let somebody get the best of me. So that's how, when you say armor, that's what I think about, putting that armor.
Like that.
So you were just saying about how wearing that armor allows you to keep this presentation that you have of yourself. But what about in those moments where that armor keeps you from being vulnerable? How does that show up?
Ooh. That's something to think. It's just more of a. What you saying?
So ask the question again. What's the question again?
So the way that you all are presenting armor or mindfulness to me is this idea of it keeps me presentable. It keeps me able to feel like I have some control over my life, of my choices. Mm-hmm. But what about when that armor becomes too thick and you're not allowed to be vulnerable with other people?
Okay. Yeah, I don't deal with that particular situation a lot. I think I think the people that are in my life, I'm pretty open with them. That particular stage, I don't find a lot of struggle with. Mm-hmm. The people that I'm close to in my life, I'm pretty open with them. I'm able to share things with them and express, you know, my feelings with them. You know, there are times where, you know, you may feel, you know, a little reluctant to share certain feelings, but for the most part, you know, that particular phase in my life, you know, I'm able to share things and be open and be, you know, honest and you know and you know forward speaking with people. So, you know.
Okay. Well, you mean like what happens when, you know, you're not feeling like you have that armor to protect yourself?
It can be that if that's the way you choose to answer it, or it could also be, you know, are there expectations for you to have that armor on when you would still like it to be off?
Yeah. Well, I think having that armor on should be a standard of life, right? Mm-hmm. It's something that you wake up with. For me, it's called meditation. For me, it's called, you know, the burning of sage. For me, it's called having, you know, gratitude statements and affirmations being played while I prepare for my day. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's routine. It's not for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm saying all of that to say that, you know, and I guess it could be alluded to what Shav said. It's just like now, I don't really attract situations in my life where I feel like, you know, if I didn't have this armor, you know, and now I just really think that that armor or understanding that that's something that's needed. You know, I always tell people it's like a computer. You can't just, you know, open up your laptop, start typing, and it works, right? It has to warm up. It has to get time to get into its functionalities. I feel the same. It should be the same way with us, you know, being mindful of what we're listening to or what we're watching before it's time to quote unquote perform and going out into the world. If you understood the results that can come from being mindful of those things and be more intentional in those departments, I think I'm not going to see a better or worse life, but you see something different. Mm-hmm. And what that is to you, you know, that's you'll be able to see those differences. But I call them routines, if you will, but the routine in the AM and the routine to the PM, that there should be a mindfulness of that because your systems need it to perform optimally. So again, the that quote unquote shield of knowing how to build that particular armor, I think that's important. The food and lifestyle, music, all of those things. So
I say with the armor, sometimes we built to try to be strong for everybody and everything like that, but you can only give so much without needing to get refilled. It's like a bank account.
Reset button.
You can make so many withdrawals, but nothing is deposited. Your account is going to be empty. So I just think that, with us, being strong and being given, that has to be poured back into us, because if not, like I said, we just gonna fall empty. And then that's where you find, the click, when we click or just spaz out. So I just think that everything that you give out, eventually needs to be replenished.
Mm-hmm. So you just said something that I think is really valuable to talk about, and it's this idea of the expectations that are on you as a man. And so I'm curious about what all do you think are the expectations for you all when it comes to masculinity and being Black men too?
That's a good one. You want to start that one out?
I should have made a drink.
Man, I'll start it off. I'm just gonna kind of give it from my perspective. I know that we got three different perspectives of this, and I'm just saying this as a single man that has a son. The expectations is high because you feel like that you want to be this role model, and you want to set a certain expectation, for your son. Just dealing with that pressure, dealing with the pressure of being a Black man, and just making it day by day. Every time my son leaves here, hey, call me, let me know when you make it safe.
Yes, sir.
His destination. Hey, let me know when you're leaving. Just because you just never know. Trayvon Martin was going to the store to get some Skittles and a sweet tea, and he never made it back home alive. So I think that expectation of just being a Black man is a struggle in itself.
What you think, right out?
Man, expectations, man. It's all about what I set for myself. You know what I'm saying? I understand that I have a choice. I could be a Black man that's not as irresponsible. I could be a Black man that's responsible. So, with any other challenge, I understand that things are going to come, but I kind of stay in the habits, kind of like you said, kind of just to, regardless of how I'm feeling when I'm going through them, I'm going to have to be responsible. There's a certain skill set that I have to stick to. Expectations, I'm always have them for myself because, at the end of the day, I'm big on reputation. And then I also have a responsibility. I have family. I have to give my daughter somewhat of an idea of who's going to look after them. You know what I'm saying? Once I've had my time here and stuff. So expectations, they're fine. I don't try to use words like overwhelmed or I'm stressed out. It's like they say, anything that I'm in a situation, I'm just gonna bear it. I'm just gonna try to be patient. So I stay positive and don't allow it to get the best of me or just choose to mistreat anybody within those times. I'm just gonna try to stay patient and at the end of the time, whatever goal I said I'm gonna get to, I just have to be patient and just wait the process do its thing. So
I think as a man, especially as a Black man, there are certain expectations that are drawn upon us, like being strong all the time. Black men are expected to be strong at all times. Never show a sign of weakness. They're never expected to show too much emotion. Black men are not, men in general, but especially Black men are not allowed to be emotional. We can't show too much emotion, because a sign of too much emotion is a sign of weakness. That's at least how I feel.
I'm gonna cry.
Right, and as well you should, brother.
Bro. I hold it there for so long, but I have my mom's. Go ahead. I mean to cut you off.
Right. No. Feel free. You know what I'm saying? But you know, be a provider. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
you know, be a provider. You know, and you know, honestly, as a black man, we can't afford to make too many mistakes. You know, we have a very small window to try to get it right, and getting it right the first time is essential. But you know, we have a very small window to do things the right way and get things right the first time, and you know, we can't make too many mistakes in life. So, and there's not always a second chance for us as well too. So, you know, just being mindful of those things, and you know, those expectations that are thrown upon us I think are key.
Mm-hmm.
I always try to break things down and as far as vibration. You know, when I stop measuring things like as a black man or as a white man or as a man or a woman, and then only understanding that those standards and such are there, I started to move different, right? I started to not think that this is going to happen because I am a black man, or let someone do this to me as a black man, and I know they're doing it because I'm a black man. It's there's another awareness with something like that, because too, when we step out of the house, you know, there's an expectation from all sides. You know what I mean? It's like you have, you know, one race of people to expect you to act this way, and the same from the other race of people, and vice versa. And so both of you see you as a thug, some see, you know, so it's about setting your own standard, right? And principles and such, and going by those principles, because, you know, all these guys on the panel are right. You know, there's several different expectations, but the way society is shaped it's just, you know, you can, man, like you say, you can expect to go just get a bag of Skittles and a tea and come home, but you know, like that's you expect something like that to happen, but you know, that's not the same. And like Shaft say, like, we're expected to practice looking hard, you know, and you can't smile out. That's another thing. I wish, you know, we understood that smiling more is a health. That's something good for your health, right?
Absolutely.
We want to always be and appear so unapproachable that oftentimes that can bring you more problems than it does, you know, anything great. So I would definitely advise that for us to do, you know, smile a little bit more, but and being strong, you know, all those guys, they touched on some really good things as far as, you know, what black men are expected to be. But MyKayla, I've dismissed a lot of what someone else expected of me, and started to concentrate more on what I expect of myself. Right. So that I don't start to follow the protocol that someone has set for me, but rather, you know, set the protocol for myself. You know what I mean? Start to set the rules for myself. So, you know, that's where I kind of stand with that.
Yeah.
It's that power of choice. You know, we had black men come before us that they chose to handle things differently. You know what I'm saying? So as we learn from our own mistakes, I think it's wise to learn from others as well. So, and this is coming from a guy like I had a grandfather in my life and things like that. So I've seen good examples, you know what I'm saying, and I've seen examples that are not. So, you know.
And I'm hearing all of you say that the pressure that's expected for a black man to perform exceptionally can be quite heavy. And so I'm curious about, what would you all like for people to allow a black man to do or be?
So ask the question again, MyKayla. What's the question again? Really
There's a lot of expectation on black men to be responsible and protective. And like you said yourself, there's not much room for error. And so I'm curious about, for yourself and for black men as a collective, what would you all like for yourself to be able to be in the world? It's a pretty big question.
I'd say not be compared collectively, right? I don't think one example is the example for all. I oftentimes can feel when a black man has done something in the news, I could tell, when especially in my go-abouts, because, the hesitancy or, the odd behavior that I get, and then I forget, oh, this happened or that happened. And even when Barack was president, right, we had to pay for that, right? There were some angry people out there. And for a black man's success, and them being upset at that black man succeeding, they felt like they could come and talk to you a certain way, or within the power that they have on a lower level, I'm going to treat you a certain way based upon what I'm upset about on a higher level. He's not the president here. You know what I mean? Just like it's so dealing with the comparison, I wish, to answer your question, that the collective comparison and or your feelings regarding something you've seen online on television, you taking that and thinking that every other person is just like that, and or that because I'm upset with them about that, I'm going to be upset with you. I really wish, and I appreciate the opportunity to even express that as a black man, because I've seen that. I've seen it a lot. I'll give you one quick story, I promise. Sitting at a spot, and I noticed, a white woman looking my way, and she's looking and she's looking and she's looking. There could have been a lot of things, but what I felt from it, it was strange. So, but she approached me and she was just like, and she had asked me, why black men the way they are, this, that, and the third. And I was like, why would you ask me that question? Well, a black man beat my son to this, and he's in the hospital and this and that. But she looked at me as if I was that guy, right? And so us understanding how to turn off that one person's actions from race to gender or culture, ethnicity, that doesn't apply to all, and so in this case, as a black man, I really wish you'd see one person's situation being theirs and allow me to express, who I am in the current situation, and don't attach me to it.
That's kind of like what I was gonna say, man. Just pretty much hear us out.
Yeah,
just hear us out, man. Everybody has a story. Everybody's come from a different walk in life. Regardless of what you've experienced and what you heard, man, we are individuals. We have a heart, we have talent, and just give us some time, be patient with us, man. We have something to say as well. Something to say as well. So basically, just being heard.
Yeah, I'm gonna just say the freedom to fail, regardless on
that's a good one.
Expectations that were set upon us. Just us having the freedom to fail.
Man, that's a great point.
Yeah,
that's a great point. There's no more, like, and sad to say, it's like there's very little margin for error. But and that's another thing to the black man out there. Understand that. Don't then cave into that notion, right? Because I can always used to hear they ain't gonna let you do that because you're black. We can remember times of hearing that. So it's like eliminate that preconceived notion of you're not going to be able to get it, or that you're going to accept it. Because, I'm a black man. There's no way they're going to let me, So I always say, or go by that motto, don't give them a reason. You know what I mean? Like, you're showing up on time, you're doing what you're supposed to do at your job. Like all of these cliche things, to not giving a person an opportunity, to use your race or whatever to fire you and or to have you get in some kind of a trouble or whatnot. But that's a great one, Tremont. Given, I even had a situation to where I wanted, it was just like, are you wanting, like, it seems like you're trying to set things up for me to fail. I've said that to a boss of mine. I was like, are you And it wasn't, and this is an example that I want people to use. You can talk to people that are in charge of you. You don't have to spaz out, as we're saying. Well, you know that someone's or you feel like that someone's setting you up to fail within what you're doing, you have the opportunity to say, when is there a time that we can talk about some things, you know, that I want to clear up? This is for clarity and this is not for confrontation. I use that all the time. And so, you know, he's right. Like, that's crazy you say that. You have very little room, you know, kind of depending on the person who's in charge of what's going on and what you're doing. But, you know, very few of us Black men have any room to fail, to be less than, you know, than great. Go ahead, Chef.
Yeah, and I would just say what I would like to see myself as a, you know, as a man and, you know, a Black man, or, you know, I would like to see myself as whole, you know, as a whole person, you know, not just hard or strong, but, you know, able to be vulnerable and soft when I need to, I like to see myself as unapologetically authentic. You know, that's where, you know, I'm not having to code switch for anybody, or I don't have to shrink down to meet any expectations, or overcompensate for anything. You know what I'm saying?
And regardless how you feel.
Yeah. I like to see myself be a leader by example, whether that's in my community, in my family, or my career. You know, I like to see myself be a leader example, a leader by example.
Yeah. I'm hearing you all say that you don't want Black men to be treated like a monolith, like you're all the same.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
We're not. We understand. We have peers we went to high school that chose different life paths. That doesn't make us better than them. But at the same time, we understand, you know, that there is somewhat of a difference. We choose to handle things differently and stuff like that. But at the same time, like, we gonna be all right, man. We Black men, like I like that, you know, giving us that room to fail and the opportunity. Like I always say, like if I want to be the kind of man that if I mess it up, I have the same power to clean and make it right as well. So it's just a part of the game.
Yeah. And you said earlier something that I would like you all to answer. And it's this question of, how would you all like to be heard?
How would we like to be heard?
That's thick.
Well, how would I like to be heard or understood? Or, you know, I've and that's that thing that once the conversation starts, you know, that'll present itself. So it's always, you know, allow for each of our perspectives to be respected, right? It's not, when it comes to perspective, that's not common, you know, there shouldn't be. And that's the uniqueness of our born dates, right? And our times and where we were born, you know, we're unique in that regard. And so we're here. That's what this world is here for, to hear each of our perspectives individually and authentically, as Shav said, and truthfully. And so I always just want to be allowed to tell the truth, you know, and not be deemed or vilified, you know, for doing something. There's a lot of, you know, when you talk about us all, you know, being one or being treated as the same, we all have the same problems. That's because of what's obvious, right? The more melanated you are, it's not more money, more problems. It's more melanin, more problems. But in understanding that, then that's where it's moments like these where, you know, I'm able to reconnect with these brothers you see here and concentrate on what I'd like, what, you know, to be heard, and what in moments like these to where we're able to express ourselves and reach out to people to be heard. And so if I had to give content, you know, to my words, again, it's the daily practice of continuing to unlock thyself, to be, who you are as you define it, because you come into this world under parents, if you're, fortunate enough, and in good environments, if you're fortunate enough. And oftentimes those environments are what shape us. And we never come into that consciousness that our environment shapes us, so that what we put out is based upon what was in our environment. Well, now you have the opportunity to understand, who am I and what is it that I'd like to say? And me coming into myself at this point in time, and just as I said, the preparation from one point to the other, I found all of those things so important, because the constantly having the drive to get into your natural state of being and being comfortable to express yourself that way. That's one of the many joys of life, because you don't often realize that you're trying to do so much and say so much so that someone will like you, not knowing that no matter what you say or do, there's always going to be a person that does not like it. So you will forever be changing who you are to be like what you think someone likes. And so the attention for me, I'd like to be understood as a person who values and want other people just to value, really wanting to authenticate the things that they do and live up to their true potential and as to who they are.
Yeah. So for
where
you,
they come from.
Yeah. So for you, being hers, being able to be honest, for a means of being transparent and not having it received as a threat.
Right.
Saying,
Absolutely.
Talking to your boss, you have to give a disclaimer.
Absolutely. Because a lot of times, like, some of the things we say in our authenticity is since it's not status quo, it's deemed to be racist, or it's deemed to be, anti this and anti that. You know what I mean? And so, yes, to be able to have the conversations and have the perspectives respected. All I want is my perspective respected.
Yeah, and for me, I want to be heard. I want to be heard fully. Not filtered through perceptions and stereotypes and assumptions. I want to be heard fully. I would like my words to be able to carry some kind of weight. Not because I speak loud, because I speak the truth.
Yeah.
And I would like to be known as a man that has some depth in his life. Not just all surface based, but actually has some depth, and actually go deep and think more depth, and just more deeper lines and a deep understanding of things.
Yeah, I can tell that you want to be seen as a multifaceted person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I know y'all keep seeing me look up. I felt raindrops. I'm like,
raindrops.
I think it's a balance between wanting to be heard and not want to be heard with me, because I look at it on the movie American Gangster. Denzel Washington said a real profound statement in that movie, where he said a lot of times the loudest man in the room is the weakest man in the room. So I want to be heard, but I like to pick my spots where I want to be heard. I want to be heard all the time. I always, it's raining. I always want to be that guy in the corner that makes stuff happen. But I ain't got to be all loud and talk
out on Front Street.
Right. I can agree with all of them as well, man. I just want to be the individual when I speak, people ready to listen. I'm not the one that, when I say, some people like, what are you talking about? Okay, hurry up and get this over with. I want to use too many words. I want to make sure what I say sticks. I like what Shad said as far as things carry on, because still to this day, I think about conversations I had with my grandparents. But so that their word and everything they tell me still carry on. So I heard them as well. So that's the kind of, when I think about being heard, that's what comes to mind as far as me.
Something like that.
And I'm seeing this general theme of, as Black men, you want to have the choice in how you present yourself to the world, because there's a lot of perception of you as being threatening, really, a challenge, something that needs to be controlled. And that can be really limiting, and it can be really overwhelming and all consuming when you're trying to push against an expectation society has for you.
Right.
And so I just want to, one, say thank you all for sharing all of those things. It takes a lot of vulnerability and courage to be speaking your truths, especially online. It's being recorded and posted. I really appreciate that.
Oh, this live.
Right.
And so before we sort of wrap up, one question that I really want to ask is, what has been the greatest lesson for you as a Black man?
Well, I'm running to this. Okay to be emotional, man. It's okay. It's okay.
Absolutely.
I have to be mindful of how I speak and how I talk to myself. Make a mistake, it's okay. Don't let it too long. You got 15 minutes, get back out there and do it again. So that's just where I'm at with it.
Yeah. And that's an okay place to be.
Yeah. It's okay, man. It's okay. It's okay. I got the behavior to change it. So I figure out whatever that was. Like you said, y'all said failures. Make sure that I learn from it. And then when I'm presented with the opportunity the next time, I just get it right.
I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna be real brief. I'm just gonna say, I've learned that no is a complete sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
You don't have to explain why, but no is a complete sentence.
Yeah. No is a boundary.
Exactly.
I'll be brief too. I think for me is I've learned that there's real strength in letting yourself feel.
Come on, Doc.
You know what I'm saying? Allow yourself to be emotional. Allow yourself to feel, whether it's pain, whether it's hurt, whether it's joy, whether it's laughter. Just
it's okay.
I found that there's real strength in just allowing yourself to feel.
Yeah, it's okay.
And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that I found that.
Yeah.
Well, you said something there, boy.
Yeah. We got a little,
I think I'll finish it off by saying.
What you say, Mark?
So we got a Cash App collection plate finna go around.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be brief too, man. Like I said, I think I've learned that you can get way more from a smile than you can a frown as a Black man.
I'll say that. Boy.
You can get way more like that. Your smile makes you a lot more approachable than your mug. I'll say that.
Right.
A lot more people will approach you with a lot more opportunities.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
There's some good questions tonight, Mrs. Bowser.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. This is so fun.
Yes, indeed. We have to do this again.
I love it.
Do this again now.
We have to. My love says yes.
Yes.
You got the queen. You got the queen's approval for sure. Like, you have to do this again for sure. Great job.
I'm glad. Thank you.
Before we get out there, I'd like for you to let our listeners know where they can reach out to you or find you.
Yes, so I am currently working at Chanel Family Therapy. You can find me at chaneltherapy.com. There's locations all across the state of Arkansas, like 20 plus. So there's lots of clinicians there available, but I'm based in Fayetteville, Arkansas. But I also see clients across the state virtually if being on a computer is your preferred platform or a phone. So the best way to reach out to me is just go into chaneltherapy.com, searching locations, finding my name, typing me in there. Or you can go to psychologytoday.com and type in my name there, and I'm easily reachable there too.
Okay, I'm putting your information in the chat, so people will be able to see it. If, like I said, if they have any questions or just need somebody to talk to, because, like I said, a lot of times people just need to get stuff off their chest because long enough, it'll come out, but it's not gonna come out the way it's supposed to come out.
Yeah.
Right.
And nothing has to be perfect. Therapy isn't about coming and being this perfectly presentable person. It's about coming, being honest with yourself so you can be aware of the choices you have and growing your perspective of yourself. So it's not about me giving advice. I'm not the smartest person in the room. I always say to my clients, you are the expert of your life, and I'm just here to be an audience. And whatever you need from me is what I can give to you.
I like that.
That's a t-shirt.
No, okay.
Yeah.
Picture. I'm gonna rewind this back. I'm gonna put that on the picture.
That was a part there.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, Joni.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank y'all.